OK, we're joined now by housing commentator Charlie Lamdin and co-founder of Sobo Club, Anas Dakey. Good morning, welcome back.
Hi, guys.
Should we get stuck into some of the stories doing the rounds today? What about The Guardian, first of all? The Home Office unit there is set to curb teenage violent crime. And Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, she has said teenagers have it, quote, much, much harder than previous generations because of knives, mental health pressures and social media. She's initiating a Young Futures unit to be based in the Home Office and as part of an ambition to halve violent crime in a decade. Good idea. Do teenagers have it harder?
Undoubtedly, I think definitely, because you don't see this kind of behaviour unless they've got it harder. When things are good for young people, you've got to get a lot less violent crime from young people. So I agree with that. I think halving violent crime in 10 years is a bit of a mediocre target. It's a bit lame. I think a lot of people who are victims of violent crime would rather it was pretty much eliminated within one Parliament term, and that would, I think everyone would be impressed if that was achieved. So,
Nas, what do you make of it? Do you think teenagers have it harder now than previous generations?
I'm not. I think it's hard. I think the problem starts actually in their homes. I encourage the government finding solutions to, contribute to this issue, but I think the problem and the main issue will be with their parents and their homes. And it's, if they focus on raising those children and teenagers and giving them role models, there is the source of the problem. And I think that's what needs to be encouraged, and this is what needs to be looked at. Me and my partner, Trailer, got a social club called Sobo, and our last event, we hosted Tim Campbell. And it was really great that we had children and teenagers and young boys, I won't call them children, but having those gatherings and they've been encouraged by their parents to come to our social event, and just giving role models to those teenagers and kids. This is where I find the solution is, rather than the government trying to find a solution about it.
Charlie, what do you make of this theory about fatherless homes and the need for a male presence in the household? Because it's more common than not, I guess, these days, where kids are growing up, I did, growing up without a father in the household. Does that have anything to do with it?
I don't think it's possible to generalise about that. I think I know lots of very, very well-balanced people who grew up without a father. I think it goes either way. So you can't generalise about that, but I think just stable parenting of any kind is important for any kid. And if kids feel safe and loved, they generally turn out OK, whoever it is that's loving them and making them feel safe.
Well, Inas, this links on, doesn't it, sadly, to a story in the Telegraph today about zombie knives. So these are these huge kind of machete-style blades that have a serrated edge, and then they have a sharp machete side as well. So this is owners of zombie knives are to be paid to hand over their weapons to police before they are officially banned. Do you think this could work, that young people will be handing over their knives?
It's like,
if they're paid for them?
I'll definitely pro any movement that's trying to minimise or, help the crime that's happening at the moment. Now, it's like going to the doctors with a massive disease and they're giving you painkillers. I think the sources starts with the basis of the family, and if they are actually well-balanced, well-raised, and encouraged to actually be the best version of themselves. And I think this is where it actually starts and ends.
Really interesting. Just had a view in from Joan. Let me try and grab it up, saying she thinks it's harder for kids because they've been so mollycoddled that they're not actually prepared for the realities of this world. Do you think she's got a point?
I do agree. If you're not exposed to any trials and hardship and tribulations gradually and in a measured way, in a safe way as you grow up, then when you do start to encounter real life's real hardships, you're much less better prepared to take them on. But
I think it's also how you respond to those trials and hardships. Do you sit there and say, OK, this happened to me, I had a rubbish childhood, something happened, my dad was this or my mum was that. Am I going to be a victim and repeat that behaviour, or am I going to use it as a basis to do the opposite behaviour? I'm going to raise my own kids and make sure they have the life that I didn't have, So I think even if you still go through the trial and tribulations, it's how you respond to it.
Yeah.
But I think you just need good people around you to kind of make sure. It's the whole victimhood narrative, which is why people like Harry and Meghan, sorry to go back to them, why Harry and Meghan cause so much criticism, because they just go on and on and on about stuff that's happened to them and portray that victimhood agenda.
Not a
Ines,
good
what
look.
do you think?
I think that's exactly what Ben said, and I think being a victim, it does get you out of a lot of problems, and it's encouraged. So if you really take responsibility and really find role models that created something to look up for, this is where the shift will start. So absolutely, it's a mindset, and I think if the community come together, encouraging the mindset of growth, role models, leadership, then we will start seeing a massive difference with the upcoming generation.
Yeah.
We've just had a view in from Christine who says, I suspect many of the problems with teenagers and mental illness is a result of the reduction in the nuclear family. She says that the benefits of a nuclear family, and even more so an extended family, are well documented, and it's increasingly evidenced these days by all the problems in society. Do you keep those views coming in? Just very, very briefly, Charlie, you've got a housing story that you wanted to run us through. Do you think that the headline is a little bit...
That's right.
confusing?
It's so every month the ONS puts out average house price movements. Apart from it being about 6 months delayed from when they actually traded, it's really important that everyone knows that this average doesn't apply anywhere. Okay, all 4 countries of the UK have got different numbers. Right. So Scotland's 6.4 for this month's data. Scotland, they've said 2.7% average, right? Scotland's 6.4. Northern Ireland is 6.4. Scotland's 4.3. Wales is 1.8, and England's just 2.4.
So that's a national average. It doesn't mean anything,
It
does it?
doesn't mean anything.
Then you break it down by house type. Okay, flats have only gone up 0.5%, whereas semis have gone up 3%. So, and then you change it regionally, and it changes again. And then it's whether it's freehold or leasehold. So the point is, if you actually need to know what's happening to house prices in your local area, national figures are very unhelpful. Whatever the market's doing, they're never indicative of what's really happening. So
who's pumping this out? The ONS?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying this is the UK's overall, but the trouble is that it comes across when the headlines are reported as everyone's house price just changed 2.7%. That's not true.
I feel like I don't know what you think. I think the housing market feels pretty flat in the southeast at the moment.
It is. Transaction volumes are way, way down. Last tax year had the lowest transaction volumes almost on record, I think.
But people are waiting for another interest rate cut, aren't they? Is that what's kind of holding the market back? And once you see those, we'll have more...
It definitely has an influence, but actually it's never been harder to afford a decent home than it is now.
Yeah.
That's what... People want to buy homes. Everyone, if they could, they would go and buy a home.
Certainly, yeah.
The problem is that, and reports like the ONS report don't help this. It's very easy to overstate them, so people's expectations of house prices when they're selling are too high, and the buyers and also the lenders who go and value them are going, no, it's not worth that much. It's less. So it is very hard to buy a house. Interest rates don't make as much difference as everyone thinks. It doesn't change how much you can borrow. So you've got to talk to your mortgage broker to find out how much you can borrow. The interest rate is definitely a factor. And everyone gets excited about interest rates, but actually where they are now is kind of where the long-term average is anyway.
Interesting, yeah. And also people do, going back sort of to the previous conversation about kids and nuclear families, I think lots of people, young people, do want families and children, but they want the houses first and safe environments, and they just can't get on the ladder. So it's...
and that's why people are having children later and later, because you can't afford to be in a house until you're in your 30s, way into your 30s.
I have people who follow my Moving Home with Charlie channel saying all the time, we live in London, we've both got 6-figure salaries, we can't afford a house bigger.
But then I say, Charlie, I say all the time to lots of colleagues here, I say, just get out of London then. I don't live in London.
No, but if you've got to work in London, you've got to commute then. So
I know, my commute is 2 hours door to door, so 4 hours a day. But on the flip side, I live somewhere much cheaper, arguably much nicer, and my kids are safer. So I just don't think you have to live in London to work here,
Charlie, Ines, really good to see you both today. Thank you so much for
your
time.